this for me is like a greyhound. I'm asking this, so I've been in this, let's see, say like conversation for decades now. I mean, I come from the therapy direction, and from the body therapy. So like decades ago, I learned like similar exercises, like you do it with the only very important difference that you then go with a thought, you attach, right, and
Mhm.
try to do something with it. But the thing is, and I've been in a spiritual group that looks at no self, like for more than a year now or longer. And this is sort of an on and off. I mean, it's sort of like, see, there's no self, and then I don't, right? So it's, but the question, so I found this work with Timo very, very useful and really great, right? So I'm gonna repeat it too all the time. I've made a note. But my question is, I have a really recurring theme of anxiety, and when I work. So I was a therapist and I had panic attacks before each session,
Yeah.
extreme panic attacks. I had to drive to a place. I had to really count and concentrate on counting to not lose like conscience and drive into another car. It was that extreme. And so I did this for years and nothing happened. I mean, this experience that no one killed me and nothing happened, right, didn't seem to help, right?
Yeah.
It was just all the time. And I also could be with the feeling in the body, but this didn't seem so. I mean, I see the expectation that this should go away, right? But this expectation is just there. So
Yeah.
after some years, I stopped because I thought I can't do this anymore. Like the stress on the system is just so extreme
Yeah.
that there came a point where I said, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I stopped. And then I got like, maybe I stopped with everything because I have to say that I'm lucky and I don't need to work, right? So I just did this because I thought, I don't even know why. Anyway, after some weeks, I got the offer to teach in a therapist school. So not to be a therapist, but to teach. And I already used to teach a little bit on the side, and this didn't give me any anxiety, right? And
Yeah.
so I thought, oh, I'm going to do this. This is a good idea. So I took on more subjects, more topics and more classes. And now I'm in the same in the same anxiety loop I didn't have before. Yeah. It's sort of ironic. Yeah. But before I was doing therapy sessions with anxiety and teaching a little bit, no anxiety. And now I'm just teaching and it's like total anxiety
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And I was also always think about stopping to teach also, but it's not being done. And I also did this body yes, body no exercises, and it's always like a sort of yes to teaching. My initial answer when I was offered this was, oh yeah, that's a fun thing to do. But now it's just got so overlaid from, I mean, I have 5 children, and the teachings are not every weekend, but at the weekend, at the therapist school. And so the whole week before a teaching weekend, I'm just not functioning anymore. I can't even properly do the grocery shopping because I can't
Yeah.
concentrate on making a list. I'm just completely somewhere.
It's
And
amazing. Yeah. I
I
want to say.
use all my energy to stay in the body somehow. But yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I just want this to be gone.
Yeah,
And
I know. And it's not. It's not. It's so great. It's so great. Okay. Okay. First thing I want to say is just to clarify what the difference between fear and anxiety is. And I have said it multiple times. So if you heard it before, any one of you here, just bear with me. A fear is when we know what we're afraid of. You wake up at night, you hear an axe murderer walking around outside of your house, and you're afraid. That is fear. And anxiety is when we wake up at night and we don't know why. We can just feel that there's something that is not like it's supposed to be. And that is an anxiety. So it's like, it's the undefined that is the anxiety. Normally, when we suffer from an anxiety, first of all, I hate the word suffer from because it's a gift. But normally when we have issues about an anxiety, it's something that has happened to us pre-verbally. Are you here, Candida? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. I had some issue with my AirPods. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I had to take them off because they were out of power.
Yeah. Okay. It's something pre-verbal. Mm-hmm. It's something that has happened. As a body therapist, you know that ever since conception, we have had different muscle groups that are developing in different stages, and a lot of awareness is in the muscle groups in different areas and different time periods and so on. And we can talk about that for years. So when we have an anxiety, it's normally lodged in the body pre-verbally. So we don't know why we have it. In my experience, a lot of the anxiety that we have, that is like you described, that you do something and then you have lots of anxiety, then you stop doing it, and then you do something else, and then it comes again, and then you stop doing that, and then what happens is that the world is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's the whole purpose of it. So imagine that you are a baby and it's pre-verbal and you are lying on the bed and you have no idea of where you are in space, and that space is outside of you. There's just being. And suddenly you roll off the bed and you hit yourself terribly. You have no idea, no concept of a body, of a you, of a bed, of a floor, of pain, that you have no concept of time, which means that whatever pain you feel, it's now and forever. That can lodge an anxiety in the body that when we are adults, we cannot explain. We just have this feeling of unsafety. And we cannot explain what it is because we can't remember what it is. It's just lodged in the body. So when we live our life in a way and that surfaces, that fear for our life, for our well-being, for whatever undefined thing is surfacing, it's because right now we have this space to deal with it. That's why it's coming up now and not when we're 5. Because we didn't have the emotional and psychological and intellectual maturity when we were 5, but we do when we're in a place in life where we're quite safe. Then there's space for us to actually deal with it. The problem is that we don't want it. What we talked about all along, we have a feeling in the body that we don't want, and then because we believe that I cannot deal with this. I'm too vulnerable. I cannot look at this. I cannot deal with this. Then we divert with something. In your case, you divert with simply stopping what you're doing and doing something else. But the problem is that the feeling wants to be felt. The feeling wants to be felt. So it will surface. No matter what you do, if you stop teaching, it will just resurface in doing groceries. Then you're going to stop doing groceries and start to order for deliveries. Then it's going to resurface every time somebody's coming to the house. Then it's going to then you're going to stop having people to the house, and then it's going to resurface whenever, it's Christmas. So it's going to keep resurfacing until you feel it. And the way, go on.
I just wanted, so this is logically does mean that though I think I have felt it like thousands of times, I obviously didn't, right?
You haven't. Nope. You have allowed yourself to feel the socialized part of you that has an anxiety. The clean one. Were you here when Janine was experiencing?
Yes.
That is exactly the part that you have not allowed. You have allowed the one that you can intellectualize, that you can talk about in a group, that you can formulate, that you can be very clever about, having insights that are interesting. But
I've been in trauma bodily therapy for years, where I was like stopping my and having, like
Yes.
SE, somatic experiencing and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And
There
I've worked with this like all the time, and in the moment there is a reaction, but I feel this too, but I don't know what is meant with I haven't felt it, because I have worked through it in a bodily way, like
I know, but every time you work through it, you have had the identity of a self.
Oh, right.
And when we have the identity of a self, some things are allowed to happen, other things are not allowed to happen.
Yeah.
Because I am not one of those people that are sitting and screaming in a room. I'm not doing that. I'm not going there. So when we have something tied up to an identity, we are limiting ourselves. The experience is limited by the thought and by the label. So the label of Candida, the body therapist that knows, just like Timo just talked about, oh my God, Timo, he knows. Timo knows, there's a little concept and a little box. So, and that's the problem. In that little box, nobody fits. Nobody fits. And the experience are not allowed to be experienced the way that it needs to be experienced. It's only allowed within the little box.
Mm.
And that's why we can go in therapy from now and until we die. As long as there is an attachment to an I, to a self, to a someone, then it's only taken us so far.
Okay. I mean, I see the attachment is very big to this shouldn't happen, right?
Yes.
So it shouldn't happen still, right?
Exactly. Still, I have done this for decades. How can there still be something? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the one that we just did with Timo, the one with that we did with Janine, go back to those and do it with them. Allow yourself to detach. I would recommend you to do Timo's first. Allow yourself to look into where is Candida? Where's that located? Where is the I? And is there any, for example, I had a body therapist that had a very, very clear sensation of a contraction that felt like a little star in the back of the heart. And she felt into it and felt into it and felt into it. And then I asked, where else in the body do you feel that contraction? Exactly that contraction, not the little star, but the contraction. And she was like, oh my goodness, I have it here in the top of my shoulders as well. Does that mean that the self is in the shoulders? And then she was like, oh my God. Because then she realized that what she took for herself, it was just a muscular contraction that you can find multiple places in the body. And with that, it releases. Then there's no one that needs to be in a certain way. You don't need to fit into a box. Whatever is allowed to be.
I did this exercise with Timo, and I mean, I did it, and it was for me in the chest, and my anxiety is also in the chest. It was the same place, and I was laughing like, oh no, this can't be it. But I think,
but do you see how funny that is? That
it is totally funny.
That the self and the anxiety is located at the same spot. How is that even
absolutely possible? When I say I, it's like is beaming, right here in the chest, where also my anxiety is like I can't breathe. It's the same place, but not the same feeling, right?
How do you have a sense of how the two experiences are different without the labels being put on them? Like, what is the physical sensation of self in the chest versus the physical sensation of anxiety in the chest?
Maybe no difference. No, I can't say because it's the same, like, area being in the spot. You know what I mean? It's like a spotlight on this area, and it's like a lot more sensations being felt. But when I have this anxiety, I feel it there. I know this because I've explored it like all the time. And when you asked this question with Timo, it was immediately this same area that like spotlighted like this. And I knew this can't be it. But the component with anxiety, what I see what is coming is not that, it's that I can't do this, right? I'm gonna die if this feeling, if this sensation goes on and on, I'm not gonna survive it.
Yeah. So
this is the feeling that's unbearable. Like when he talked about his throat being not unbearable, I had like, yes, but this is unbearable.
Yeah, and I can relate because I also had anxiety issues for many years. I was agoraphobic. I had panic attacks. I've been through the gamut as well, and so I understand what you're going through. What I think is really interesting to note, though, is that the sense of self, when it's felt in the chest, there's a sense that is me in some way if we don't analyze it. And basically you have this, whatever the experience is of sensation happening in a chest, you have a thought over that is usually not really being consciously acknowledged as being that's me, but there's something there that believes that that's me. There's a belief there. Otherwise, just that sensation, when I asked what feels like a me, that sensation would not have even come up on your radar as being a potential for me if there wasn't some sort of latent belief in there that could be a me. And then you have that sensation that appears during anxiety, during panic attacks, and that sort of thing. And then you have these labels on it that go, oh, this is unbearable. This is anxiety. I've had this for so long. Why is it still here? I'm going to have to quit my job. I can't, and then these out of the, out of control cycles of thoughts that are about the same sensation. Without those two thoughts, you're basically dealing with the same physical bodily sensations. The irony is, let's come back into it.
It's okay. Yeah, it's just resonated something. I don't know.
Good. The irony is that the belief of it being a self can also be a protective thing where we feel fear at the idea of seeing through that. So even though there's a sensation there can be fear in two different ways. There's fear of seeing through it as being a self because it's not. And then there's also a fear of that sensation meaning something more about me as an anxious person and the way it's going to impact my life, which it's not. So you have a same sensation in both situations, and you have these mental overlays that are just wreaking havoc on, the suffering of the thing that we're calling Candida right now. This idea of the self is being put through all this unnecessary turmoil and suffering just because of thoughts that are attaching to physical sensations. So what was it? So sorry.
No,
what was it that resonated, and what happened in that moment?
I don't know what it was exactly, because you talked along and so I forgot. But
I'm sorry. I do that.
No, but actually, when you said this, like those overlays, and this is the whole suffering. I mean, I'm summarizing here, paraphrasing. I don't know. This was like a moment of, oh my God. And it was a sort of compassion for this system having so much suffering because of this, right? So it was a moment. Now I can talk myself out of it.
Well, go back and rewatch this and see if somewhere along there, and then just pause it so you don't hear me babbling on afterwards. Just get to the point that like hit something and then just hit pause and feel what was there.
It was the whole thing, it started there, but the whole thing was just.
Yeah, I was also thinking of that. There's also that super important part. Yeah, I'm also thinking that there's also that super important part that I believe that whenever we have depression and anxiety, all those things that we experience, pain in the body, agoraphobia, whatever it is, I really believe that there's a super, super important message to us in it. And when we just want it to go away, we're minimizing the importance. We're making it less important than it actually is. So you're rushing through it. And when you're rushing to get rid of it, you're missing the point. It's going way too quick. You need to slow down. What is this actually telling you? What is this protecting? What is this making sure that you are aware of is an issue that needs love, compassion, and kindness? And by that disappearing, that part of you will never ever receive love, compassion, and kindness. So it's important for it to stay there as long as you're not directing love, compassion, and kindness in that direction. You only have that opportunity, and you will only do it when you're forced to it. And you're only forced to it when you have an anxiety. So if an anxiety disappears, that area of you is not being met. So that needs to be met. And when it's met, and it has been completely incorporated in you and being met all the time with love, compassion, and kindness, then you can unhook the anxiety, but not sooner, not before.
And you mean by this information or wants to tell you something, you don't mean something in the thought, like a story or something like this. You mean something else, right?
Yeah, I do. Not a story and not a concept. Not a story and not a concept. Because we really want to create a story. Oh, when I was 7 and my mom, she didn't.
Yeah, because I work with this like a lot.
Yeah. Not that. Because that is just the diversion from what is actually happening. The story is detaching, and the story is diverting from what the feeling is calling out for. There's a sensation in the body that is calling out for you to be aware of it and allowing it to be in a body. Can I be in a body that ... And then you just sit with that and allow it to be there and give it love, compassion, and kindness, and fill it up. And when it's done, it's unhooking all by itself without you doing anything, without you knowing a story about it when I was a baby or when I was 7 or any story, because the stories are not important. It's just diversion, and usually used for us diverting again from the sensation that we have in the body. So just getting back to the feeling and allowing it to be there and filling it up with love, compassion, and kindness. If it wasn't there. So I usually ask Todd every time he's sick or feel miserable or something, I get all excited and go like, what's the gift in this?
Uh-huh.
What's the gift in this?
I love that question.
Yeah, I'm going to try to ask myself this when this comes in 2 weeks is my next weekend.
Yeah, do that. What is the gift? What is the gift? And then stop and see where it takes you. Allow it to take you where it wants to take you.
I'm already getting symptoms when I even think that it's in 2 weeks. So it's so strong.
Yeah. But it's really great that it's there. Otherwise, there's an area of you that would just stay in darkness.
Yeah, I see it. I see that's a constant wanting this to just go away. Yeah. That's driving everything.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. I mean, I'm doing the things, but through this lens of make it go away, go away.
Yeah, exactly. Where instead it should be, oh, thank God you are here. Yeah. Welcome. Turn the light, go into the room, turn the light on, look at every single, corner and see what's there for you.
I'm going to write myself a post-it, a big one. Thank God it's here.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm going to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to say anything.
I was going to say, I feel like we've already thrown so much at you to begin with, but it's come up a few times, and I just felt like I wanted to just put it out there just in case you have one more thing on your plate to consider. The one place where, because I agree with Pernilla that, making narratives and histories out of these things that come up is not helpful, and it just reinforces that sense of self and all of that. But the one thing that might be useful in terms of finding the toxic starting points and that sort of thing is to look into what is the commonality between when you were doing sessions with people and you were having panic attacks before those sessions? There was something that was triggering a panic attack that you were afraid of, something that you were worried about happening. Then when you were teaching, that wasn't there. Then when you were teaching the new time, that came back. So what was the commonality between those two times?
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
Yep. I would just, I absolutely have no idea if that is the case, but when you are in one-to-one sessions, you never ever know what comes up. You're completely out of control. It's very free flowing. Like we often talk about when you go in, you have no idea what you're going to talk about. You have no idea what is going to be said or anything. But when you teach, you know what you're going to say. You have planned out almost every single 5 minutes, a new slide, a new topic, and you're going like that. When you have teach for a while and you have a group, then you start to know people, and then the uncertainty comes up again, that they bring stuff to the table that you do not know what, and then you're back to the smack of it.
Exactly.
What I would like to remind you of is there is no candidate, and whoever is there as a teacher is not the wise one. We talk about that a lot. We want to create a group next year. And we talk a lot about that. It's a reminding group. It's a reminders group, that we are reminding people of what they already know. I'm not the wise one. Far from. You are. You know, Todd is not the wise one. Far from. We're just reminding you guys what you already know. And if you can enter the room with that humbleness, that you are not bringing anything to the table, you're just there to be a mirror to the people in front of you, because it's not you who's doing it, it's them who's doing it. You know?
Yeah, totally. And that's exactly it. Because exactly this, because the topic I was teaching in the beginning was a very, very defined one. So they basically didn't say anything, you know. And this one I'm teaching therapy methods. So it's basically like a big, big, big therapy session.
Yeah.
And this is just freaking me out. And
yeah,
till the moment it begins, because I see the mind is just like trying to predict, trying to know. And the moment it begins, it's just gone, you know, and it's just happening, whatever.
Yeah. I can let you in on a secret. If you plan what you're going to talk about in a therapy session or in a teaching session, you are the worst teacher on the planet. You're the worst. If you go into the room and you just, the only thing you bring to the table is a mirror. That's all you bring to the table. You're bouncing back what you see, and it's the only thing you bring to the table. Then you're doing your actual job.
Yeah, totally.
But then also, I'm just curious.
That was a relief.
That was a big relief. Yeah. I feel like I should leave it there. I feel like we should leave it with the relief.
It's okay. You said you're curious, so I want to know. You see, the mind wants.
Well, going back to
this is what Todd he does in 101s. When you guys believe now we're at the end, this was it. He's going to say something else, and another hour is going.
No. It was just based on what we were just talking about. But on one hand, you have that amazing relief at recognizing that you can't plan, and you've been putting yourself through all of this extra stress for trying to grasp the ungraspable or
understand the
ununderstandable,
understand the ununderstandable,
or to create a sense of security based on predictability. You're trying to create this idea that, okay, I know what's going to happen, so I'm going to feel safe in this situation. So what I'm curious about is what's underneath that, and is there a belief that's driving the idea that you are not capable of handling any situation? Is there an inherent belief in your inability to deal with whatever comes up in any sort of therapy situation or teaching situation? And is that based off of an inherent insecurity that's really at the nugget of that? That has
that has a starting point in shame, you know, and
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
I am not, I should be, and a lot of shame, and
It feels like I might lose it and have a nervous breakdown when I'm faced with something I can't handle. And if I lose it and have a nervous breakdown, it's like the worst thing that can happen. It's like dying in front of the people. Yeah. So at home I can have it. In front of my husband it's okay. So it's no problem. But yeah, it feels like this. I can see it. This attempt to hold myself together no matter what. Yeah. So
I would also
again there's a very big belief in an I.
Yeah.
There's a very big belief in someone actually being there and somebody actually doing something, and you're not. It's so arrogant when we believe that I am the one doing it. It's so arrogant. You're not. You're really, really not. You're moving as a good therapist. You're moving with what is alive. And it's what you're saying, that it's only up until the moment you're there. When you're there, you're just moving with whatever is alive. That's a good therapist. So believing that you can control and know what will be alive in the moment, it's arrogance. You can't. You cannot possibly know what will come up.
Yeah, I know and I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know it and I don't know it. It's such a strange, because I see the total truth of it, but then when you say it now, I see it. But let 30 seconds go into the way and then it comes back, you know.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, so try going into that, bring up sentences about that. I'm afraid I'm going to have a nervous breakdown in front of them. I don't feel equipped in any situation. Whatever sentence you can come up with that would trigger that internal feeling of insecurity or not being, prepared enough. See if then you can sit with that sensation. So it's not just sitting with the anxiety situation and then pulling off the label and sitting with the sensations of it. We're going to the feeling of insecurity, that feeling of not being good enough or not prepared enough, or worrying that, I might just lose it in front of 30 people, whatever it is. I want you to try sitting with that sensation and bringing love and compassion to that sensation, because that's really the nugget in the middle of the whole ball of self in there.
Yeah, it's a total feeling on unworthiness, and only if I do it right, I earn some worth somehow.
Yeah, it's such a massive delusion. It's such a that you can ever do or say, anything that would have any significance for anyone. You can only be. It's the only thing you can do. It's just being.
So come back to that feeling of unworthiness and just bring love and compassion to that feeling and be with it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to hearing how it's going.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.